The Dujiang weir is located on the Minjiang River in the western part of the Chengdu Plain. The weir is a water control project with the seemingly miraculous effect of turning the river's hitherto turbulent waters tranquil. The Dujiang weir diverts water from the river to large tracts of land that are in need of irrigation. Astonishingly, the Dujiang weir was built more than 2,200 years ago. The man who directed the construction of this project was an engineer who specialized in water conservancy. His name was Bing.
我们最早知道李冰这个人是在《史记》里边，只是3个字，蜀守兵。姓氏呢，在《汉书》里边第一次提及李。那有没有实物可以验证呢？在1974年，在都江堰出土的东汉时期的石像，实际上是在都江堰我们今天说的曲首这个地方，找出来3居10人，其中有一个衣襟上面写的李冰。我们推测，都江堰的制造者、创造者，或者说他的兴建人，就是李冰。
The statue of Bing is on display in Fulong Temple. It is one of the very few pieces of evidence relating to Bing. The fact is, very little about Bing was written by ancient historians. The only known references are those in Records of the Grand Historian and History of the Han Dynasty. Bing's name has been kept alive by his remarkable engineering feat. The Dujiang weir has been irrigating the Chengdu Plain for more than 2,000 years. But why was it necessary all those years ago to build this gigantic water conservancy project? In the 3rd century BC, China's territory was divided among a number of rival states that were at war with one another. In the year 316 BC, the state of Shu, which covered the Chengdu Plain, was conquered by the state of Qin. This brought Qin into direct confrontation with the state of Chu. Plans were drawn up in Qin to dig a canal to divert the Minjiang River so that strategic supplies could be shipped to the city of Chengdu. Around this time, King Zhao of Qin appointed 30-year-old Bing as magistrate of Shu Prefecture. One of the new magistrate's main responsibilities was to make Shu Prefecture a strategic base from which Qin could unify China. However, the Chengdu Plain, which formed a large part of Shu Prefecture, was ravaged in turn by flooding and drought. The situation was so bad that the plain was popularly referred to as the marshland state. Today, the Chengdu Plain is crisscrossed by a network of ditches and canals. It is thriving thanks to water diverted from the Minjiang River. A Qing dynasty painting, Land Irrigated by the Dujiang Weir, shows the watercourses on the Chengdu Plain. All these watercourses begin from the same place, the Dujiang Weir. Li Bing spent 2 years carrying out surveys of the Minjiang River Valley. He concluded that there was only one way to curb the flooding caused by the river: building a network of channels and canals on the Chengdu Plain. This scheme had a key additional benefit. The water diverted from the Minjiang River could be used for irrigation. For the scheme to work, a channel would have to be cut through the Yulei Mountain. Li Bing mobilized the local people to do the work. The massive project took 18 years to complete. The 3 key elements in the project were given the poetic names Precious Bottleneck, Fishmouth, and Flying Sand Dike. The Flying Sand Dike divides the Minjiang River into 2 courses, known as the Inner River and the Outer River. The dike serves to regulate the water volume. The Inner River flows through the Precious Bottleneck and continues on to irrigate the Chengdu Plain. The function of the Outer River is to divert floodwaters.
Mount Wuyi is famous for its beautiful natural scenery. It is also well known because of its association with the 12th century philosopher Zhu Xi, the father of New Confucianism. On one of his rare trips away from Mount Wuyi, Zhu Xi took part in the famous Goose Lake debate. What 2 schools of thought clashed in this historic exchange of views? Find out in Zhu Xi and Mount Wuyi, the second part of Great Masters of the Past.
On the Chengdu Plain, farmers began digging channels directing water into their fields. A vast irrigation network was taking shape. In the course of a few decades, the Chengdu Plain and the Sichuan Basin surrounding it were transformed. The area of irrigated farmland was vastly expanded.
我们知道说新修水利在上古的时候已经就有了，说鲧的时候他怎么样去除水害，他也是很多年离家在外，可是他的方法呢是用的堵，是用的塞，水没有治住，水害依然。换到禹的时候，他用的方法早期还跟他父亲是一样，只是率领更多的民众去堵去塞，可是不成。后来他想到了另外的办法，就是用疏导的方式，让所有的大河分切，让它一点一点最后归到大海。那现在呢，我们来看看李冰。李冰在这个过程中运用的方法显然比禹要高出一筹，因为禹在做的时候依然还是水是凶是害，只是要把它放掉，让它归大海。现在呢，李冰是修一个都江堰，让水变害为宝。在这个完整的系统工程里边，成都平原得到了它的益处，得到了它的保佑，就是原来的总是被湮灭掉的这些土地，现在呢成为良田。成都平原也成为我们今天所说的天府。
In the year 223 BC, a 1 million strong Qin army set out on a fleet of boats from Chengdu along the Minjiang River and onto the Yangtze. Having overrun the state of Chu, by the end of the following year, Qin had conquered all the remaining warring states and unified China. The Qin dynasty lasted in power for little more than a decade, but in that time it recorded many accomplishments. One of them was the Dujiang weir. 100 years after the project's completion, Sima Qian, who was writing his masterpiece Records of the Grand Historian, visited the site. He wrote, "The Dujiang weir has brought to an end the suffering caused by flood and drought. The local people no longer know hunger, the years of crop failure are no more, and the Chengdu Plain is called the Land of Plenty." As a water conservancy project, the Dujiang weir is unparalleled in the entire history of human civilization, and it made the name Li Bing famous. Li Bing's meticulous approach has been summed up as guiding the water along the course of its flow and devising measures according to the different conditions. Amazingly, the methods devised by Li Bing are still used by water conservancy experts today. But how did he come up with such a sophisticated scientific approach to solving the problem more than 2,000 years ago? Lao Tzu, the father of Taoism, who lived at the time of the spring and autumn period 2,500 years ago, once made the following remark: "True goodness is like water in that it benefits everything and harms nothing. Nothing is more yielding than water, yet it can overcome all obstacles." Lao Tzu often used water as an allegory when he wished to explain the abstract concept of the Tao, or the way. The core concept of the Tao is to model oneself on nature. Li Bing's method of guiding water along the course of its flow and devising measures according to the different conditions corresponds with Lao Tzu's principle of modeling oneself on nature. So did Li Bing consciously follow the principles of the Tao and his work or was it just coincidence?
我们说老子的思想的时候，通常说法就是道生一，一生二，二生三，三生万物。同时还提及一个核心思想，就说这个道是从哪儿来的？道法，它要法自然。自然，我们说这个里边法的自然就是自然界的规律，从生到发展到演变，最后到灭亡这样一个规律。那都江堰在新修的过程中，就是注意到了这个水从上游带着泥沙流过来的时候，你要怎么样把泥沙把它阻击下来，让它怎么样分配才可以达到你要求的那个流量以及它灌下去的那个速度。像这些当时李冰未必是真正的意识到了我必须如此去做，但今天来看，它还是契合了老子所说的道法自然，因为它里边包括拦住石坝的那些方式，都是从自然生活中获取的。
Ever since the dawn of the human race, people have been contending with their environments for living space. In fact, civilization came about as a result of this constant struggle to coexist with or dominate nature. Today, the efforts of the human race are focused on conquering nature. But by contrast, Li Bing, when he was designing the Dujiang weir 2,000 years ago, demonstrated an ability to follow the laws of nature. His approach reflected philosophical principles, and this is why the Dujiang weir remains an integral part of its environment still today. The key part of the Dujiang project was the channel that was dug to divert the Minjiang River through Mount Yulei. The mountain rock was very hard, and the tools at the time were not particularly effective. As a result, the work proceeded very slowly. In Records of a Grand Historian, Sima Qian states, "The cliff was steep and hard. Li Bing piled wood against it and heated it with fire." Li Bing then told the workers to extinguish the fire and pour cold water over the rock. The hard rock cracked, making the work much easier. The Dujiang weir is a remarkably effective water control system. When the water in the inner river rises too high, threatening the Chengdu plain with flooding, the water flows over the flying sand dike into the outer river. The turbulent waters of the outer river flush away the silt deposited at the precious bottleneck. Undoubtedly, a secret to Li Bing's success in building such an effective water control project was the respect he showed for nature. That the Dujiang weir water control project is still in use today can be attributed to Li Bing's far-sightedness. He is said to have instructed that every year the dam should be reinforced and the silt removed. This principle is still followed today.
所谓的岁修，岁就是年，岁修是每年都要修。那李冰定下了这样一个规矩，在他当时的时候就特别谈到，你修的时候不能说是官员修，是百姓修，因此你一定要让百姓明白，你修到一个什么程度，它就合适了，这个堰它就能够永远的延续下去，能够被使用。这个标尺呢，就是铸造了30人啊，当然用铸造这个词不太合适啊，铸造是因为它到明代的时候是换的铁人在那个地方。那么在当时的时候呢，是3个石人 立在那个地方，水高，我要注意到高到哪个程度就不能让它再进来了，低到什么程度就不能让它再下了。那么就是高度最高上限是到肩，最低下限是到脚背，用这样10人作为一个标尺。那这个方式啊，实际上在现在来讲，在水利里边有些水标尺还是从这个雏形演化过来的。
The wooden fence in the midstream is called a mat or corrugated beam. This simple but nevertheless effective device was designed by Li Bing to divert the water. When the Dujiang weir is in need of maintenance, corrugated beams are placed midstream to reduce the force of the river's current. Li Bing explained his principles for maintaining the Dujiang weir in just 6 characters. The meaning is, dig deep into the shoal and build the dam low. These 6 characters were later carved on the wall of Fulong Temple. The city of Dujiangyan lies on the Minjiang River. Like people across the Chengdu Plain, the city's residents enjoy the benefits brought by the Dujiang weir. At Qingming Festival every year, the local people perform sacrificial rites at Wang Temple. This ceremony celebrates the reopening of the Dujiang weir after its annual overhaul. The same rites have been performed here for many generations. Through this ceremony, the people express their gratitude to Li Bing. Wang Temple stands right beside the Dujiang weir. It was built 1,500 years ago at the time of the Southern and Northern dynasties to honor Li Bing and his son. In the Song dynasty, the emperor conferred the title of king on Li Bing and his son. Wang means 2 kings. The huge temple is an imposing place. A statue of Li Bing stands in the center of the main hall. He is holding a map and is deep in thought, as if considering some aspect of the construction of the Dujiang weir. Over the centuries, numerous shrines have been built to commemorate Li Bing and his son. Interestingly, the Dujiang weir is the world's only water diversion project without a dam. The fact that it remains in use after more than 2,000 years is testament to the brilliance and far-sightedness of its designer and its builders. The Dujiang weir was built at around the same time as the irrigation systems in Egypt and Babylon, but those fell into disuse long ago. Only the Dujiang weir still diverts irrigation water to vast areas of farmland. Water is the source of life. Li Bing built the Dujiang weir to divert water to the Chengdu plain for the benefit of the people there. For this remarkable achievement, the people of the Chengdu plain to this day refer to Li Bing as the father of Sichuan.
Emperors sought him out, but he was a man who resisted fame and wealth. Zhang Sanfeng preferred to live in seclusion in the Wudang Mountains, perfecting himself as a Taoist and as an exponent of martial arts. But were these two disciplines really compatible? And what has been this Taoist master's legacy? Find out in Zhang Sanfeng and the Wudang Mountains, the fourth part of the series, Great Masters of the Past.